Hello, guys. Welcome, everybody, to Purple A's podcast. I am your host who bleeds purple and gold, Isaac here. So, let's talk about the offseason. There's so much to talk about, a lot of cleaning from the inside out from the Vikings side. I mean, there's a lot to really talk about. So much to talk about. Okay, but the main thing that I think the Vikings, I think should be their main objective per se, and to also that really needs it the most is the offense. The offense needs to be done basically the most, in my opinion, than it is the defense. Now, not to say that the defense doesn't need help. They need to replace John. They need to get rid of Jonathan Allen and Javon Hargrave, have Jalen Redmond be the defensive lineman, and then sign another defensive tackle if needed. And they also need to get probably a new. They might need a new safety. I don't know. And they also need to rip apart the cornerback room. But other than that, I mean, sure, the defense does need some help. And who knows if Brian Flores will be back. I mean, I'm not concerned about the defense because even with some of the issues that we saw with the defense was, I mean, some of the issues, but you know what? They still, as crazy as it sounds, the defense is the third best in the league. How crazy is that for it to be the third best? It didn't feel like it. I felt like this was Brian Flores' maybe worst coaching season, but you know what? Even if it was still good, it might have been still okay, but it was third best. That's insane. Now, going to the offense, I mean, the third best, I mean, you compare with the offense, 20s, they're the 27th in the league with offense. That's not good at all in case you did not know that. 27th best is not good. Even if it was okay, I mean, I would have been fine with it too. But 27th best. But here's the deal. Part of that is mainly, though, play calling by KFC. You know that. But also, they also need help on the offense and that tells you that they need some serious help on the offense. Now, breaking down the position, backup quarterback, that's going to be a thing of need. They're going to need a backup quarterback, some quality competition. They need some quality competition up there. Like maybe whether it's maybe I mean, I would feel better if they did it in free agency and not in the draft. Like per se, like Mac Jones would be a good option. Kyler Murray, maybe Tua Tagovailoa, that might be a viable option for the Vikings heading into free agency. There's so many options you could go with backup quarterback. Maybe Joe Burrow if he's available. Just depends on what he wants and how much the Vikings want to risk because he is injury prone, but he's also really good. So we'll have to see what he's got, what they do with Joe Burrow if they sign him or not. Also, let's see. And then you need a fullback because you're going to need a new fullback because CJ Ham, he's retiring. So now you need a new replacement at fullback, whether maybe it be within the Vikings organization right now as of currently, or you go get somebody else from draft or free agency. So either one of those two would be a pretty good option, I would say. And then running back position, I'm not worried about that really. Jordan Mason, I would keep him. Aaron Jones, maybe you want to keep him another year. I don't know. But the run game has been sensational. That's basically been the only good thing about the Vikings offense is the run game. Passing game is a different story. We know about that. But Aaron Jones, maybe if you want to keep him, I don't care what they do. He basically probably played the best career game that he's had. He played a pretty good game. Pretty good season. The wide receiver position, maybe you want to get maybe you want to get a slot receiver if you wanted to. If the Vikings decide to trade for Jordan Addison or cut him because of drop passes and just his immaturity sometimes, but I don't know. But I will say this. Jordan Addison, I say they keep him, but in the event, maybe you want to go after wide receiver. Maybe. A tight end is a position of need too, because you're not going to roll with TJ Hawkinson next year, because as he was only good for a couple seasons, for maybe 1.5 seasons, I would say. Because he was traded in the middle of the 22 season to where he would play throughout most of that year as a tight end one. He's been pretty solid for the Vikings for the first 1.5 years. But right now, I think it's time, to be done with him because he's had a case of dropping passes, he just hasn't been that same explosive tight end that he was when starting with the Detroit Lions and with a couple of years under the Vikings belt. So I will say he just hasn't been the same. So I would say you need that extra umph behind it where TJ Hawkinson, like what the Raiders have in Brock Bowers. This dude is an absolute beast. I would most likely go with that in the draft than I would in free agency because I don't really see much options at the tight end position in free agency. So I say you go ahead in the draft. Maybe either the first or the second pick that the Vikings have, you get a tight end. That's what I say. And then the offensive line. They need some serious help too. You do got some starters though that are healthy. Maybe I don't know if Christian Darrisaw is gonna stay. Maybe hopefully he stays and hopefully he stays healthy. But health was a concern for this offensive line for this season because you had most of your starters out. Will Fries has been pretty good. Ryan Kelly has had a history of concussions. He has had 2 of them this season, and it absolutely sucks. I don't know if the Vikings keep him or move on from him. I would say maybe if they were moving on from him, you get a new center, but also you need depth. Just in case of injury, if they decide to roll with the same 5 starters, you need some true depth pieces that are going to fill in. And not just like Justin Skule, Michael Juergens has been okay, but the offensive line has not been really all that great. So I say Justin Skule, you move on from him. Blake Brandel, I'm disappointed that they did start him at center, but Michael Juergens is a center overall, so I will say maybe Blake Brandel, you move on from him. You need depth pieces behind the offensive line, I would say. Like they did with Cam Robinson and Christian Darrisaw, we need that. We need depth behind the offensive line, just in case, those guys go down. That way, J.J. McCarthy, is not constantly getting hurt or hit. And speaking of, and they also need a new offensive line coach. Chris Cooper. Chris Cooper needs to go too. I mean, the offensive line coach for Chris Cooper, he needs to be fired and get somebody else. Basically, that's how I feel about him. I mean, the offensive line has been, and with this caliber of offensive line, there's no reason. Maybe health has to do with like technique or something like that. But the offensive line is just not good. They're not it's not good enough technique in my opinion. So they need to fire Chris Cooper. But the offense needs more help than anything. If it's that bad, then you need more talent. That's just plain and simple. Plain and simple. You need more help for JJ McCarthy, and you need a lot of help for this young rookie quarterback. If you want him to be developed, you need to do those things. Than just the defense. And that's the bottom line. Basically this offseason, because if you're going to be contenders in 2026, you need offense. You need a lot of talent. So, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you guys hit that like button and hit that subscribe button if you have not already. Skol Vikings.